Hi, welcome to Movie Review Mom. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. I so appreciate your support. And if you're new to my YouTube channel, yay, you found me. I'm so glad you're here. My goal is to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so that you can make the best decision as to whether or not you want to spend time or money or both watching a specific film. So, the specific movie I'm reviewing today is called Where the Crawdads Sing. This dramatic movie was released in theaters and on video on demand on the same day, July 15th, 2022. I finally had time to watch it, and I'm excited to tell you about it. First of all, the movie is rated PG-13. Now, I'm going to give you a bunch of tips for parents in just a few minutes, but I will say right now, there is way too much sexuality, I think, for a PG-13 movie. The movie is 2 hours and 5 minutes long, which is a long movie, but it attempts to include as much as it possibly can from the book that the movie is based on. My overall movie review mom grade is a B+. Now, don't turn off the channel. Keep watching so you know why I gave it the grade that I did. I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell, and I'll point out things I liked and didn't like, as well as offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about, interesting lines, and even recommendations for a couple of other movies that I think you might like if you like this one. All right, so let's dive in. In a nutshell, never have my subscribers and friends asked for a movie review more than they did for this movie, because the original book has been a huge global bestseller. I think everyone's expectations have been very high. So here we go. I hope this answers all your questions about the movie, and no spoilers. At least that's my goal. The book and the movie are about a woman who raised herself alone in the marshes of the Deep South, North Carolina specifically. She becomes the main subject in a murder of a man she was involved with. The dramatic mystery is based on the novel by Delia Owens, who actually appears in the movie during one of the court scenes. So I love that when films try to really utilize the writer of the original book into the film. So I've never read the book, and so this review is based solely on the movie. The screenplay was written by Lucy Alibar, and the film was directed by Olivia Newman. So the list of things that I liked is very long. First of all, and by far, is Daisy Edgar-Jones. She is absolutely perfect in this role. She exudes innocence, simple beauty, and independence. Her character was completely believable, although some people have complained that her face and her clothes were too clean for a girl living near the swamp. They make a good point. I've never seen the popular TV show Normal People, but I hear that she was excellent in that as well. So I'm definitely going to have to check it out because I'm a new fan. Michael Hyatt and Sterling Macer Jr. did a really great job as the supportive couple in Kaya's life. They're a perfect example of the powerful influence simple kindnesses can be in our lives, and the reverse, that if we show simple kindnesses to others, we'll never know how important those small deeds might actually be to them. David Strathairn plays a true Southern lawyer with charm. It's always good to see him. And I thought both Taylor John Smith and Harris Dickinson were able to evoke just the right emotions from the audience that they were intending. For example, love, hate, betrayal, anger, passion, lust, and so many more. So because I haven't read the book before watching the movie, I had no expectations in mind as to what they would look like. So if you read the book and watched the film, comment down below and let me know if you thought that the actors matched the characters that you had envisioned in your own mind. I love the intriguing movie poster. Again, I didn't know what the book was about, but seeing the poster, I was like, ooh, I want to see that. There is beautiful cinematography of the Carolina Marsh Country by Polly Morgan. My mother grew up in North Carolina, and one of my sons currently lives in North Carolina. It really is truly beautiful country. The swamp looks so much more peaceful and even magical than creepy due to the warm color grading. And that's important because we're supposed to believe that she feels safe there. I think a lot of times we see horror movies and, murders and stuff like that in creepy swamps. And so they've done a good job making it look like a magical place. The mysterious crime keeps us watching to figure out what happened in the murder. There is some ambiguity in the end, which is actually kind of fun. So I would love to hear your thoughts on what you think happened. Comment down below. And by the way, I read every comment that everybody writes and I reply to every comment. The song Carolina that is featured in the movie was written and performed by Taylor Swift. Another song featured in the movie is sung by one of the guys, and it's called Long Black Veil, which is an old folk ballad about a murder. The musical score does a really great job blending peaceful moments with some foreboding concern. Reese Witherspoon was one of the producers of the movie. The trailer for the movie was actually released on her birthday, so that's fun. It was obvious that a twist was coming, but I wasn't completely sure if I was correct until the end of the movie. And the movie does a really good job of making you second guess yourself, making you doubt, well, wait a minute, I thought it was that, but maybe it's this. And then things will happen and you're like, well, maybe. Anyway, and I really liked that. The film is a breath of fresh air for all of those who are currently experiencing Marvel movie fatigue. Is that you? Comment down below. I'm always fascinated to learn what inspires authors to write their books. And so I love the publishing element of the story. Now, with all of that high praise, let me point out just a few things that I didn't like or thought could have been done better. First of all, I hear that the shell necklace in the movie is much more important in the book than it's represented in the film. The movie also condenses a lot of the protagonist's childhood and the murder investigation itself into a very simplified portrayal. I also hear that the book has some lovely poetry that Kaya writes. We hear a few lines, but it's an example of just how you can never include everything from a great book into a movie, unless you talk about the Lord of the Rings. I think that trilogy, now it took 3 movies to be able to capture all of that. Anyway, some scenes are filmed at night and are so dark that it's going to make it hard to see them on streaming devices. So try to see it on the biggest screen that you can. That being said, this isn't a movie that I am going to insist you see on IMAX, at the big screen at the theater. One thing that just made me laugh is one of the characters looks like he's got frosted tips in the 1960s. And I'm thinking, I don't know very many guys, if any, did that in the 1960s. I'm talking about you, Tate. Now, my mother frosted her hair. That was really popular in the 60s for women. Anyway, just thought that was interesting. There seem to be some gaps in the story that are surely explained in the book. And so while watching the movie, I really felt like I must be missing some important details. I knew that there had to be other details that I just wasn't getting. I felt that. Act 1 and Act 2 move quietly and fairly slowly, but Act 3 felt like it raced by very quickly because the court case was coming to a climax and the movie was coming to an end. It looked like one of the scenes was filmed actually with a green screen because the color and the lighting seemed a little off. Otherwise, it looked like everything really was filmed on location. All right, let me give you some tips for parents. As I mentioned, I'm a little iffy on this PG-13 rating because you see an unmarried man on top of an unmarried woman in various scenes. You know what's happening. You see facial expressions and hear some noises. Some skin is shown during intimate moments, although you don't see any private parts. There is some profanity. Men hit women. There's some violence, and actually men hit men as well. You see an attempted rape, so that's not fun. I was impressed that the movie actually showed a young man stop before he went too far with his girlfriend, and he explained to her that she would receive more damage from the encounter than he would. And I wish more guys recognize that, especially with unprotected sex and, the ensuing results of such encounters. I'm trying to explain this delicately. All right, some of the themes that are illustrated very well are innocence, abuse, heartbreak, disappointment, betrayal, nature, kindness, broken families, facts, and evidence and revenge. All right. So I always write down funny lines and interesting lines on my written review at moviereviewmom.com. For funny lines, I didn't really write down anything. This is a very dramatic story and not really a comedy. There were quite a few interesting lines, and I'm sure it was just a tiny, tiny portion of some of the beautifully written gems in the book. So one was spoken by Kaya, again, played by Daisy Edgar-Jones. And this guy takes her out on a picnic and then starts physical advances on her. And she says, I know you think I'm trash, but I'm worth more than a Sunday picnic. And I wish more girls recognize that as well. Don't sell yourself so easily. Okay, this is the mother in me coming out. Can you tell? And then there's another interesting line by Kaya. She says, the marsh taught me how to survive, but it couldn't teach me everything. And then later she says, being isolated is one thing, being hunted is quite another. Okay, you convinced me. I'll tell you one more. She says also, in spite of everything and trying to stomp it out, life persists. Where out yonder, where the crawdads sing, the marsh knows one thing above all else. Every creature does what it must to survive. And that's a big theme of the movie, obviously. Okay, so before we go, let me give you a recommendation for two movies that instantly came to my mind as I was watching this. Now, the first one is To Kill a Mockingbird. This movie has been compared often to Kill a Mockingbird, partly for the time period, the South, some prejudices and that kind of thing. And then the second was a movie that I recently, well, maybe it was last year, reviewed called Once Upon a River. And it's also about a single young girl who's living on her own and has all of these various experiences that teach her about life and love and loss and that kind of stuff. So check that one out as well. I hope if you've read the book that you enjoy this movie. I hope if you haven't read the book that you enjoy this movie. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me, and I will catch you in the next movie review. Bye for now.